Hi there. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Follow Your Passion podcast. I'm your host, Erwin Wils. I'm a mindset and business strategist and founder of Millionaire Life Strategy. In this podcast, I'm interviewing my clients and other entrepreneurs that are following their passion and make a good living out of it. When you want to know more about me or what I can do for you, check out my website, millionaireLifestrategy.com. But first, check out this episode of Follow Your Passion. Hello everybody, welcome by a new episode of Follow Your Passion podcast. And let me introduce my special guest of today. His name is Marco Robert. Marco is the author of the book, The Business Intervention, to be released soon. Professionally, he is internationally recognized as an inspirational speaker and lecturer, turnaround management consultant, corporate board advisor, and venture capitalist. His clients and peers have dubbed him the business disruptor. Since the early 2000s, in his function as a consultant, he has advised nearly 500 businesses all over the world, including Africa, America, Canada, Europe, and Asia. With the help of the aptly named BOSS management system he created, Marco is said to be able to pinpoint business solutions and rescue a business faster than anyone else. Over the years, he has made a name for himself as a turnaround specialist who never fails. Every year, Marco is single-handedly responsible for pumping millions of dollars in value into his clients' businesses in the form of increased sales and profits, job creation, and business valuation. Marco is a true citizen of the world. For the first 5 years after college, he worked in Canada and in the Bahamas to gain experience and muster the confidence to start his business. From there on, he moved to Guatemala in Central America, where he opened 2 restaurants. Later, after selling his restaurants, Marco started a private equity investment company and soon moved to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, enjoying a beach lifestyle while running his business. Starting in 2001, he began visiting California's Silicon Valley on a regular basis. The charms, climate, and entrepreneurial spirit of Northern California soon seduced him. So, in 2004, with a partner, he started a management consulting firm and began helping local Californian businesses grow and thrive. As soon as the word got out about the kind of successes his clients were having, Marco got headhunted to collaborate on larger consulting projects with a national consulting firm. Over the years, he has collaborated with several such large firms on business projects all over the world. In 2016, with a partner, he formed his latest business, a Silicon Valley boutique venture capitalist firm. Today, most of Marco's working time is spent speaking at conferences worldwide and consulting with existing companies facing difficult turnaround challenges. When he's not traveling around the world, Marco likes to hang out with his family at his lake house north of Toronto, Canada. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm excited to have you here because I can vouch for everything I just said, because I still remember when you first met in 2017, we're having some difficulties thinking about the pitch. And you come up with this great quote from Napoleon Hill: whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And frankly, I have never heard of Napoleon Hill before that moment. But as soon as I heard it, I immediately liked it. When I went back to the Netherlands, we were in LA at the time. I bought the book. I got thrown by it, and it has changed my business as well. So I know what you're talking about, Marco.
It's funny. I wish I had $5 for everybody who said, Marco, the first time I met you, you completely disrupted me and it changed my life completely. But I remember that moment. Really well because you were anxious. You had to go on stage. And then we spent about 5 minutes together. And I said, what do you do? What is it that you do? And you said, this is what I do. This is how I do it. This is how I do it. And I was trying to kind of figure out everything you did and be able to summarize it in one sentence. And then I'm like, yeah. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve.
Exactly.
I didn't come up with the phrase, but I remember I remember thinking this is the best way to explain to an audience what is it that you do. So I'm glad that it helped.
Yeah, definitely. So Marco, when you got out of college, you said you were looking for some confidence to start your own business. Did you have like entrepreneurial parents as well, or was there no entrepreneurship in family?
Yeah, my parents were nurses. Both of them were nurses. But when I was 9 years old, they actually opened a restaurant. And when I was 12, they opened a second restaurant. And funny enough, that year, the year when I was 12 years old, and they opened that second restaurant, they put me in charge of managing the front of the house staff in that second restaurant. Excuse me. It was just a tiny little restaurant. I only had maybe 6 or 7 waitresses working for me. But my job as a 12-year-old, okay, my job was to schedule the employees, so figure out who's going to work when. I was also responsible for managing the front of the house inventory. So we had magazines, we had newspapers, we had chips, we had chocolate bars. That was just the front of the house inventory. My parents were still responsible for managing the kitchen. And I was also responsible for managing the cash and making the deposits at the end of the day, right? So running to the bank and making the deposits. I was 12 years old. I was probably like 5'1", 5'2", or maybe I should say it in meters. Actually, I don't even know what it is in meters. But I was just a little boy, and it changed my life. That summer of 1982, that's when I made the decision that I was going to spend the rest of my life as a business person. I enjoyed the freedom. I enjoyed being able to kind of coordinate the work of other people, right? And I enjoyed the money. For the first time in my life, I made a lot of money. And listen to me, I have a really good story about this. So in Canada and in the United States, back in those days, in the springtime, there was a company called Sears, and Sears would send you a catalog. That was before the internet, right? And then in the catalog, you had basically all the products that were available for the upcoming season. So in the spring, they would send you the summer catalog. And in the spring of 1982, they actually sent us a catalog, and there was a beautiful BMX bike in there. And I was looking at this thing, man. It was beautiful. It was red. It was black. It was shiny, and I really wanted to buy it, but it was, I think, what, $149, right? So I asked my parents, and I said, no, 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 no. But then after about a month of working in their restaurant, I had accumulated enough money that I was able to buy this bicycle for myself. So imagine this, right? You're a 12-year-old, and then you buy the bicycle of your dream. This is basically like a 40-year-old buying a Lamborghini. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how it was for me. And the fact that I was able to accomplish this monumental feat of success for me by myself was life-changing. Now, going back 40 years until this year, I found an old copy of this catalog, and I bought it on eBay. I have it. I have a copy of this catalog. This
Wow.
catalog it changed my life, right? It changed my life. So they used to give away those catalogs for free. I ended up paying a few $100s for the catalog because I wish if I had known that I was going to talk about this, I would have shown you the catalog. I'm super proud of it because it changed my life. So yes, my parents were a little bit entrepreneurial. They owned a couple of restaurants, and that's really what launched me in my entrepreneurial career.
Nice. So the first few years in your entrepreneurial journey, you also started a restaurant, right? In
Yeah,
Guatemala.
yeah. So
How was it to start a restaurant in a totally different country than what you were used to?
yeah, well, I wish I could have started the restaurant in Canada where I was from, but Canada being in America, it's much more expensive to start a business in Canada than it is in other places. So I had decided I was going to start a restaurant. I went to the bank. I worked on a business plan. I presented it to a banker, and the banker literally laughed at me. Okay, he said something like, "Kid, you're never going to get any money for this business plan." And I remember walking out, and I was so angry. First of all, that he had laughed at me because I had worked on this business plan for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And but number two, I thought to myself, okay, what am I going to do? So my girlfriend and I at the time, we had about $30,000 together, and we said, okay, what are we going to do? What can we do with $30,000? And she's the one who proposed that we went to Central America because she had some friends in Central America. Her family had connections in Central America because her uncle had worked in Central America. So anyway, she knew about Central America. I did not know anything about Central America. You have to think, this is 1997. I did not even have internet at home in 1997, right? So I did not know anything about Central America. But we prepared for 4 months. We packed up everything, put everything else in storage, and then we flew down to Central America. And within a few months, we had made some connections in Guatemala, and we ended up starting our, excuse me, we ended up starting a first restaurant by teaming up with a guy who owned a nightclub. He was operating one of the biggest nightclubs in a city called Antigua, Guatemala. But he was not making enough money. So I said, hey, why don't we split the rent? I'll pay half of your rent, and then you open your nightclub at 7:00 at night anyway. So I'll operate a restaurant in the nightclub during the day hours, right? So from 9 a.m. in the morning until 5 or 6 p.m. at night, I'm going to operate a restaurant in the nightclub. He said, that's a good idea. So I built a little kitchen, furnished the kitchen with all the equipment, and then there we go. We were in business, right? So that was my first restaurant. And then, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 months later, I ended up opening another restaurant in the same city, Antigua, Guatemala. We operated these restaurants for a couple of years, and then sold them, and then came back to North America after that.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Wow. But it was actually a very smart move to start cooperating with a local entrepreneur that already had like the building, and you only needed to add something else to his business, and both came out profitable, I guess.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up, because I'm a huge proponent of partnerships. And I always talk about this. People always come to me and they say, well, Marco, if you get into a partnership, somebody's going to screw you, right? My uncle got screwed in a partner, or my dad was in a partnership and he got screwed. And it's true. A lot of people get screwed in partnerships. But if you look at the most successful business people in the world, they're all in partnerships all the time. So the analogy that I like to use is this. It's like marriage, right? A lot of people cannot make marriages successful, but the most successful people in the world have very successful marriages. You understand? So I think it comes down to communication. If you want your partnerships to work, you need to be honest with yourself, and you need to be honest with your partners. You need to be willing to communicate. You need to be willing to be transparent. You need to be willing to say exactly what you want to accomplish, and then find the right partner for the business. Just like in life, you have to find the right partner for your life. So that's the way that I see it. And I think partnerships are very, very important. In fact, I think if more entrepreneurs understood the power of partnerships, very few businesses would ever fail. The problem is that most entrepreneurs are so ego driven. You have to think about that. Most people start businesses, maybe not most, but a lot of people start businesses because they're rebelling against something. So instead of starting a business to serve a community or to do this, maybe not most, but a lot of people, they are actually rebelling. They're like, I don't want to work for the man anymore. I don't want to have a boss anymore, right? I want my own independence and freedom. So there's almost this rebellion attitude. That's why they start their businesses. So the last thing that these people want is to be in partner with somebody else who's going to be dictating kind of the outcomes of the business.
Yeah,
and that's a big mistake.
They feel they're not in control anymore.
They feel they're not in control anymore. But that's a big mistake. Everybody should be in a partnership. I'm in many partnerships, not just one. I am in many, many different partnerships.
Yeah, and I like what you said, because I also tell my clients that if you want to grow your business, you need at least to know what your mission is, your vision, and your core values. And if you want to hire employees or start a partnership or a corporation, at least the people you want to work with should at least align with your core values and your mission and your vision. Because if they're aligned, then the corporation will be for the long term. If they're against each other, it's not going to work.
I agree. It's like a marriage, right? It's like a marriage.
Yeah.
And then two heads together can accomplish way more than one single person, right? I'm a huge fan of partnerships. One of my favorite partnerships is with a group of people in Australia and the Philippines. So there's 4 of us. We call ourselves the boardroom. And basically what we are is we're 4 business advisors who have reached the summit in our own individual disciplines. And one is in accounting, one is in sales, one is in marketing, and I'm in I'm in, financing and restructuring. And the four of us have joined together. We call ourselves the boardroom. We advise companies. Basically, we are kind of a de facto board of advisor on demand, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we do, and it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun doing this. And my
it's
partners are in, like I said, there are two of them are in Australia, and one of them is in the Philippines, and I'm here in the United States. So it's a fun partnership.
and it's a very powerful combination indeed, because you complement each other, right?
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
If
Yep.
you would look back in your entrepreneurial journey, would you have ever thought of being at the position you are right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's what started me. The vision, the imagination of success. This is what got me started. When you're 12 years old and you have a bunch of 16, 18 cute little girls working for you, you can start imagining a lot of things. So what got me started was this idea of beautiful girls, yachts, vacations, international, like living the life of James Bond, basically. That's what got me started. The reason
Yeah.
why I never wanted to have a job was because, to me, a job is you're kind of restricted by the moods and the decisions and of somebody else, right? When you're when you're on your own, when you run your own company, and if you know what you're doing, you can literally live the life of James Bond. And for several years, and when you and I met, I was traveling around the world. One week I'm in Singapore, the following week I'm in Australia, then I have to fly to New Zealand, and I fly to Hong Kong. I mean, I was all over the world, constantly. So people who followed me back then, they really thought I was some sort of a James Bond. So yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
yeah, I was living the dream. I was living the dream.
But that's actually, for me, that's the proof of this quote from Napoleon Hill as well. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. And what you just said, when you were a 12-year-old and you already saw the potential that entrepreneurship could offer you, and now you're living it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was Walt Disney who said, first you have to believe it, then you will see it. Most normal, average, and ordinary people, they say, well, if I see it, I'll believe it. Well, you're never going to see it. You have to believe it first,
Yeah.
And that word, I remember maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I was on a phone call with a friend of mine. And then I quoted Napoleon Hill, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And I thought to myself, wow. I started to think about the word believe. And I realized in that moment how important that word is. Your ability to believe in yourself, to believe in your actions, to believe in your journey, to believe that you can accomplish the results that you want to accomplish in life, to believe that you deserve the destiny that is owed to you, to believe. I don't think there's anything more important than that. And I remember I was on a phone call with a friend of mine, and I've done a lot of business development. I've done a lot of personal growth, for myself. I've attended trainings all over the world for 30 years. And in that moment, I thought about it and I'm like, wow, everything I've learned about becoming a better person comes down to one word. The word is believe. If
Yeah.
you can believe, everything we do, our education, our experiences, our trainings, our relationships, it all comes down to building the belief in order to achieve whatever we want to achieve.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
powerful.
Yeah. And I also thought Walt Disney, I think when he already passed away and they built a new Disney park, maybe it was even Euro Disney, right, next to Paris, that one of the owners said, it's such a shame that Walt Disney never have seen it, right, when it was operational. And I think the answer was he has already seen it, right, in his mind.
That's
So,
true.
and talking
That's
about
true.
this when you pronounce believe differently, it could also be live, right?
Be live. That's right.
And
Yeah.
if your subconscious can't make the difference between imagination and reality. So if you truly believe it, it will be live.
Yeah. That's so true, man. That's a beautiful analogy. I like it.
Yeah. So what was your turning point from building your own business to starting helping other entrepreneurs, helping expand their business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, um, in 2001, after living around the world, we had gone back to Canada a little bit for, I don't know, maybe about a year. And my wife at the time, I was mostly focused on managing my portfolio at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my time was spent just managing my own portfolio. But my wife had a job. She worked in the healthcare space, and she got offered a position in California. So, we're like, you can spend the rest of your life in northern Quebec, or you can move to California. So it was a pretty easy choice. So we ended up moving to California. And when we moved to California, um, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Right? I needed to keep busy. And I had all this knowledge that I had accumulated through college, but also through experiences building my own businesses. And I thought, well, maybe this is what I should do. Maybe I should start helping other businesses. And that's what got me launched in this. And if you and I have known each other for many years, so you know that people know me as the systems consultant, because I always talk about systems and systems and
Yeah,
systems.
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
big fan of systems. So immediately after launching my consulting practice, I was looking for a system to help business owners. I figured out there had to be some sort of a method for consulting with companies. And I looked and I looked and I found some methods. Some big firms are using some methods, but there was no systems that was designed to help people get better results. There were methods that were designed to make sure that the firm made money, but nothing was really focused on helping clients make results. So I created one. I love
Yeah.
systems so much. So I created a system for systematizing businesses. And that system has a name, you know what I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
it's my famous BOSS methodology. And it stands for Business Optimizing Strategic Systems. Or in short, it's the system designed to strategically optimize any business. So that's what I do. That's what I've done now for the last 21 years. Whether I do it as a consultant, whether I do it as an executive coach, whether I do it as a speaker on stages around the world, or whether I do it now as a merger and acquisition expert and venture capitalist, what I do is my job is to strategically systemize and optimize businesses. That's what I do.
Nice. Nice. So is your
Yeah.
middle name System or is it Boss now?
Yeah, it should be. Maybe I should change it. Right? Maybe I should change it to that.
So a few years ago, you also became father for the very first time. How did that
Yeah, I did.
change your business life?
Oh man, that was so amazing. So I'll tell you, this is not something I talk a lot about, but I mean, obviously, becoming a father at the age of 50 is something pretty extraordinary. And I always challenge my clients, and I always say, whenever you can find something you are afraid of, right? If you're afraid of something, you're like, oh my God, Marco, I don't know if I can do this in my business. It defines the outer boundary of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then whenever you can identify something that you're afraid of, something that you fear, then you get to decide what you're going to do, because it's the boundary of your comfort zone. So you get to decide: am I going to live with that comfort zone for the rest of my life? I'm going to live on this side of the comfort zone, or am I willing to obliterate this fear so I can keep on pushing and growing my comfort zone, right? Because as you know, the bigger your comfort zone, the bigger your wallet, right?
Yeah.
It's that simple. People with big comfort zones, take on bigger risks and make more money. People with tiny comfort zones never make any money. They work for $10 an hour. You understand? So
yeah.
your job as an entrepreneur is to expand your comfort zone. And how do you expand your comfort zone? By identifying the fears that are limiting your comfort zone. Okay. So I've been teaching this for decades. And one time I was near Atlanta, Georgia. I was teaching at a retreat. And at the end of the retreat, I'm with one of my clients. He's known me for many, many years. And we're just chit-chatting, and then the retreat is over. And the next morning, everybody's flying back home. But we're at the hotel. We're just sitting outside, and him and I were just chit-chatting. And in the conversation, he looked at me and he said, "So what about you, Marco? What are you afraid of?" I'm like, "What am I afraid of?" I said, "I don't know. Let me think about that." And I said, "You know what? Let me be honest with you. Having a kid." He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I think, I'm such a free bird. My entire life, I've been a free bird. So my life partners have always been women who actually understood that I was somebody who needed to travel. I could fly to Las Vegas for a meeting, and then I fly back to my lake house in Canada so I can, write my book. So all my entire life, I've had two major life partners, and both of them have understood that I needed a lot of space. I'm a very independent person. And having a child, to me, was going to restrict my freedom. So when he asked me that question, I said, "Yeah, I think having a child is probably what freaks me out the most." And then he looked at me with a smirk on his face and said, "So what are you going to do about it?" Right? Are you going to keep that fear, or are you going to obliterate the fear? And I'm like, wow. It's like he exposed it to me, right? And I thought about it for a few weeks, and then I called my fiance and I said, "Baby, I think we need to have a baby." I said, let's make a baby. And she's much younger than me. And she said, "Okay, let's do it. Let's do it." And within 6 months, she was pregnant. And we have a beautiful little boy. He's 2.5 years old. He is everything to me, like literally. He's redefined who I am as a person. And he was born in the middle of COVID. He was born right in the middle of COVID. I think you're muted. Are you muted?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so it's the most amazing life experience. In hindsight, I should have done it before. But the truth is this: we all have limitations. And I did not know that this was one of my limitations until my client kind of asked me, and that's when I kind of realized, I was just moving forward. I had just kind of made up my mind that I was never going to have kids. I was just building businesses. I'm a business guy. I'm not
Yeah.
I didn't see myself as a parent. I saw myself as a business guy. My kids were the thousands and tens of thousands of business owners that I've worked with around the world. Those are my kids, right? But yeah, anyway,
So how did that change your look on your own business and entrepreneurship?
oh wow, that's a great question. If you and I had spoken 5 years ago, and if you had said, "Hey, Marco, when are you going to stop?" My answer back then was always the same: never. I'm never going to stop. I like what I do too much. Why would I stop? Now, this is what I used to say. I said, "Why would I stop?" Now, I'm not going to work 12 months a year for the rest of my life. In fact, since the age of about 42, I haven't worked 12 months a year. Like some years I work 5 months. My average year is probably 8 or 9 months. But if my plan was just to keep on working forever, maybe not as hard, but, do deals, partake in conferences and advise companies a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 months a year. But after having my child, now there's an end date. I don't know exactly what the end date is going to be, but there is an end date. Like I'm not, even though I still love what I do with a passion, my passion is divided right now between what I do and my son.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's going to be an end date. I don't know when. At some point, I'm going to say, I'm ready. Like in 2021, I didn't work. I just basically spent the whole year with him. But this year, I kind of rolled up my sleeve and I ended up doing 4 business deals. So 4 very important business deals this year. So I don't know, I don't know exactly, but there is an end date.
Yeah. Are you already thinking about when your boy becomes 12, what you're going to push him through?
Yeah, man. Honestly, I would love for him to become the CEO of my businesses when he gets older, but I'm not going to try to force him to do that. Who knows, right? I think both me and his mom, I think we're both, um, we I think our job is not to force him to become anything, but it's to help him discover what he needs to become. So, hey, I have things that I prefer in life, and I have things that I don't prefer. So obviously, I hope that he adheres to the things that I prefer. But at the same time, I need to keep an open mind, and I think our job is to help him become who he is supposed to become. But if that's the guy who's going to be running, the Marco Robert Enterprises, that would be very nice. I would love that.
Yeah, I think you couldn't have put it any better, Marco. So, if you think back in all those years of experience, is there one client that or one business that you helped that really popped out that you thought, wow, I never expected this results with this company?
Oh my God, that's a really good question. Wow. So many businesses, but I'm going to tell you something. This is what I'm thinking. When I was young, I used to play a lot of pool, like billiard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a very good pool player. In fact, I was nationally ranked in Quebec, where I grew up, by the time I was like 14, 15 years old. So I was a very good pool player. And one of the reasons is because I had this mentality, it's never over until the black ball is sink, right? So because I've seen so many people sometimes give up when their opponent has the cue ball lined up with the black ball in the pocket, and they're like, you know what? Oh, it's over. For me, it's not over until that black ball is actually in the hole.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know how many times I actually saved the game because I'm super. Even though the guy is like lined up, I'm still super confident that he might not make it, and sometimes he doesn't make it, right? So I've always had this attitude, and in my early 20s, I remember that's when I started to study with Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins had a saying, and the saying is, trying to remember how he said it. Um, where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. So as long as you're willing to believe, again, we bring back that word. As long as you're willing to believe that there is a way, I think there's always a way, right? So I'm not one to give up. So if I look back at my clients that have succeeded the most, there were a few times when I'm like, oh my God, how am I ever going to be able to help this company, right? But when there is the will, there is a way. And I have a coach that I've been working with for 12 years now. And one time she taught me something because I was telling her, I said, because for years I would go on these international trips and I'd be gone for, 30 days and I would meet 22 companies in 30 days. It's overwhelming, right? The amount of work that I had to do, traveling in maybe 7 countries and meeting 22 companies in 30 days. It's a lot of work. And the pressure for delivering, right? People want results immediately. And I was having a conversation with my life coach. And I told her, I said, sometimes what if I cannot come up with a result? What if I cannot come up with a solution? She said, Marco, she said this to me. She said, remember that we are nothing more than channels for the infinite knowledge of the world. And I'm like, wow, yeah, I need to remember that. So anytime after that moment that I'm facing with a client and the clock is ticking and I have to find a solution because they're going to lose their business, or I have to find a solution because at the end of the day, I'm catching a flight and I have to go see another client in the next country. I'm constrained by external limitations and I have to find a solution. Well, you know what I do? First, I adhere to the belief that when there's a will, there's a way. It's not over until the black ball is in the hole. And then Figuratively, I just open up my hands, I rest them on my lap, and I say, energy of the world, universal knowledge, give me the answers that I need right now. And you know what? Every single time, I've been able to find the solution that my client was looking for. And I'm telling you, some of these solutions, some of the solutions that I came up with are absolutely out of this world. I'm very proud to say that to this point, I have never failed at saving a business. So approximately about 60 companies have come to me because they were in a dire strait, about to lose everything. Some of them days away from losing everything. And I have never failed them, because where there's a will, there's a way. There's simply not even a possibility for me to fail. And I strongly, strongly believe that in the end, we are nothing more than channels for the universal knowledge. And then the universal knowledge put me there because I'm here to help this person. And it always, always works. It's pretty cool, huh?
That's a great vicious circle you're in.
Yeah.
You have a belief, you find the proof, strengthens your belief, and it keeps on building and building. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely.
So you just shared with me that instead of helping other businesses, you decided to buy businesses, to buy yourself into a business. What made you decide to change to that strategy?
Well, I reached a point in my career where, there's just so much that you can charge a small business owner, right? Company makes $3, $4, $5, $10 million a year. How much are they willing to pay an advisor? There's a limit to how much they're willing to pay. So today, instead of saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to charge you $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 because I think I can make you $10 million. Instead, today I say, hey, you know what, let me buy a position in your company. I don't want you to pay me anything. In fact, I'll give you money. I'll take a small percentage of your company, and then we're going to work together, and then we're going to grow your business by $10 million. So that way, instead of making $150,000 for that contract, I may have to put $50,000 or $100,000 in the deal, but then I'll make $500,000-$600,000 on the back end. So I always end up making way more because I'm a partner in the company. So it works for everybody, right? For them, it's a good way to bring an international expert to help them out. It's a good way because they have me as a full-time partner, and there's zero risk except for they're putting a little bit of equity at risk. That's it. For me, I basically take on all the risk, but it's no risk to me because I've done this for 20 years. So I'm not.
Yeah.
I know exactly what I'm doing. So it's kind of a win-win, and people seem to love it. So I've done 4 deals like that. I'm very peculiar. So if some of your viewers are watching this, like, oh my God, that sounds awesome. I want to do a deal with Marco. Well, I'm not willing to do deals with everybody. I'm very peculiar. So I'll tell you the characteristics. Okay. I like businesses where they've been owned by the same owners for at least 10 years. I like businesses that that have at least 20 employees, 10 to 20 employees.
Mm-hmm.
I like businesses that have profit margins above 20% in profit margins, net profit margins. I need a business owner who's extremely open-minded, because I can guarantee you that we're going to do things in a different way, right? They've always done it in a certain way. I'm going to come in and I'm going to pivot. We're going to do things differently. It's always like that. And and I like business owners that are typically a little bit older. It's not a prerequisite, but I like business owners who are maybe sometimes in their late 40s, 50s, or even 60s, who are starting to think about exiting the company, so that we can start putting together a plan and we can exit the business together. That's so those are kind of the businesses. When it comes to industries, it doesn't matter to me, but I'm always looking for an opportunity. I want an opportunity. I don't want a business. I don't want to put money in a business that I'm just going to continue growing at a 10, 15, 20% a year. I'm not interested in that. I want a business that has some sort of an opportunity, right? Like this year, I bought a trading company, like an import-export trading company. Why? Because of the war between Russia and Ukraine. A lot of trading routes have been disrupted right now. A lot of European companies are looking for new partners, new suppliers, because their Russian suppliers cannot supply to them anymore. So I bought into a Swiss trading company, and we've expanded the trading company dramatically because of opportunities, right? So that was an example.
Yeah, nice. And I think it's also a great business model because when you step in and you bring in your own money by buying a part of the equity, you're showing your trust and the confidence in the process.
Yeah.
So for the business owner, that's also very comforting that, I'm getting my private business coach that sees an opportunity. Otherwise you wouldn't buy into the company.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. That's exactly what they're saying. Yeah.
So, have you thought about your own exit strategy in your company?
Yes. So I used to run a consulting firm, right? I think in your presentation, you said it when you introduced me, you said Marco built a consulting practice. I
Yeah.
exited that consulting practice in 2010. And since 2010, I've been kind of on my own, right? As a speaker, as an advisor, but I've been on my own. The people who work for me, they're all contractors and they're all over the world. So I don't have an office. Well, I do have an office, but it's just a tiny little office where I go and work. I don't have like an office with secretaries and with a full admin staff like I used to. So I've been thinking for a few years, I have this intellectual property, my boss methodology. And if I decided to retire tomorrow, my boss methodology would just die with me.
Yeah.
This is not something that. So that's one of the reasons this year I bought a management consulting firm. I bought into a management consulting firm also in Europe. And now I'm actually transferring the intellectual property of Boss inside of that management consulting firm, so that first of all, it's going to survive me when I decide to retire. We're still going to be able to operate, and if we ever decide to sell the management consulting firm, well, my intellectual property has value inside of a firm instead of just with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think about my exit all the time. That's just one idea, but I'm obviously a lot of succession planning that I've done with advisors and experts and financial experts. Yeah, I think about it all the time. Yeah.
Nice. It's good to be prepared.
Absolutely.
So 2023 is just around the corner. It will already be 2023 when this goes live. But what are your plans for the coming year? Anything you can share?
So, yeah, sure. More acquisitions. Okay. I'm working on the acquisition right now. It's December 2022. I'm working on the acquisition of a management consulting firm in America. And the reason is I'm a partner in a management consulting firm in Europe, and I'd like to be a partner in a management consulting firm in America as well, because the economy is shifting. I think it's no secret, right? We're not going to keep on growing forever. I think we started to plateau, and we're going to start going down. So I want to be positioned to be able to do a lot of turnaround. I said I've done around 60 turnarounds by myself over the last 20 years. Most of those were actually during the great financial crisis between 2008 and 2010. I probably did 40 in those 2 years, right? 2 or 3 years. So this time around, I want to be able to help as many business people as possible. So by affiliating myself with 2 management consulting firms, I think we're probably going to be able to do hundreds of turnarounds and save a lot of companies. So that's one of my biggest plays moving forward. And we're also working on some big real estate deals as well right now.
Nice.
For the same reason, because the economy is shifting. We're seeing a lot of opportunities. So what I did is I created a partnership. Remember, we talked about partnerships.
Yeah.
I created a partnership with experts, different experts in the world of finance and in the world of real estate. And we're planning on buying a lot of real estate
Nice.
over the next
Nice.
few years. Yeah.
And there's even one thing here that you didn't mention, and I just remembered it. You have your book being released soon, The Business
Yeah.
Intervention.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit? Give us a little trailer about it. Is it your legacy? Is it your?
Oh, the reason why the book has not been released, it's been written for a long time. And it's kind of a convoluted story. The reason why I haven't released the book is because I spoke with editing houses, and if you want, there's many ways that you can release a book, right? You can actually self-publish it. If you want to make money with the book, you self-publish. You're gonna make $7 every time or $8 every time you sell a book, right? You're gonna make a lot of money. If you want notoriety, if you want your message to be, propagated, then you go with the big house, right? So I've spoken with some of the big houses, and we've been in talks, and I ended up signing a book deal with another house. It's a smaller house, and I thought I was going to release my book with them. I decided not to do it. So the book has been kind of on the shelves now for a couple of years, and I don't know exactly when I'm going to release it. So I don't want to give you kind of because by the time I release it, it might be a different book. You understand?
Yeah.
It might literally be a different book. Now, for some of you who said, "Well, I wish you shared more about that," let me give you a gift here. In the meantime, I wrote another book, and I self-published another book. It's called "Say Hello to More Cash Flow," and that book is self-published, and I give it away for free. So everybody who's watching this can actually go to marcorobertbook.com. So my name, MARCOROBERT book.com. And then you can just put your email address there, and then I'll send you a book that I wrote. It's Say Hello to More Cash Flow is about it's about something that happened to me early in my career. I was with a client, and I had never seen this client before. And then I walk into his business, and he's like, "Hey, Marco, how you doing? And we're starting to work today, right?" And I said, "Hey, do you mind, before we start working, do you mind just kind of walking me around and showing me?" Excuse me, my phone was ringing. I said, "Do you mind walking me around and showing me a bit about your business?" He said, "No, no problem." So we started to walk around his shop, and by the time we made it through the shop, and then we went through the warehouse, and in the back of the warehouse, there was a client who was loading some stuff on a pickup truck. And my client said that he started to introduce me to this guy who was one of his clients. And he said, "Hey, I need to introduce you to my new business consultant, Marco Robert." He said, "You're not going to believe this. I met this guy 45 minutes ago. And in the last 45 minutes, he's already made me over $100,000. And I'm like, "What?" And I thought it was such a great kind of idea that I started to write a book about this. Like, that was years ago. That happened almost 20 years ago. But then a few years ago, I wrote a book about it. It's basically how is it that I'm able to help business owners make money super fast? So I share 8 different ways that I've used over the years to help business owners make money super fast, and that's what the book is. It's a do it yourself kind of book, and I give it away for free. I decided to
Nice.
just give it away for free. Yeah,
Wow, what a great gift for my audience. Thank you for that, Marco.
you're very welcome.
I'm sure we can talk for hours if you want to, but we have to limit our time a little bit, Marco. If there's one little tip or a little piece of wisdom you would like to share with the audience, what would it be?
Oh my God, so many things, right? So many things. When I speak on stages, I always say, "Tell me what all the other people are going to be talking about, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to be talking about." Because there's so many things that I could be talking about, right? When you speak with business owners, business is such a complicated, not complicated, but it's such a subdivided thing. Here's one piece of advice I could tell people. Here's one piece of advice I could tell people. I think the reason why a lot of business owners struggle is simply because most business owners have not discovered their own inner voice, right? In order to become successful in business, the real secret is not about learning how to run a business. That's not the real secret. That comes much later. The real secret of the successful entrepreneur is this. One, you have to know who you really are. You need to understand your strengths. You need to understand your weaknesses. You need to know who you are. And you need to have the inner fortitude to play the game of life in a way that resonates with your own strength. Everybody is different. You were born different than me. I'm born different than you. We're all different. So what is it that your real strengths are? What is it that your God-given gifts in life? You need to understand what those are, and you need to be
Yeah.
willing to play the game of business using that gift. Number one. Number two, you need to evolve into the kind of person who doesn't do business just to make money, but you do business because you want to bring value to the world. If you're only in business because you want to make money, you're not going to be successful, because people will sniff you. People will know that you're in for yourself. You need to be in for them. Now, I'm not trying to say, give everything away for free. No, you need to bring value and make a lot of money. I'm a strong believer in free enterprise and capitalism. I believe that business owners should make a lot of money, lots of money. But the best way to make lots of money is to play the game of business with the end users in mind. See, every time I do something, it's always about creating value for the audience, for the clients, for the intended prospects, right? That's what I do. I create value. I come up with solutions. And what I found is that the most successful business people in the world have these two characteristics. One, they're very independent and they play the game of business based on their own strengths, number one. Number two, their lives are devoted to creating value for their customers. They're constantly trying to find solutions to problems that their clients are facing. So I have a name for these people. I call them outliers because they stick out. They play a game that is their own, so they are outliers. And entrepreneurs, because they are devoted to creating value and creating solutions for their clients. So they're outlier entrepreneurs. So I think the biggest secret of business is that not enough people are willing to play the game of business like that. You need to become an outlier entrepreneur. And then everything else is easy after that. Building a business is easy. Building a business is simple. Maybe not easy. Nothing is
Yeah.
easy, right? I mean, nothing is easy. But building a business is simple. It's actually very simple.
That's some great piece of advice, Marco. Thank you for that. And I know my listeners and viewers will also like it very much. So you already shared your great free book, with a lot of wisdom in it, marcorobertbook.com. If people want to get in touch with you and want to know more about you, how can they do that? Any other places they can go to?
I have a bunch of different websites. Obviously, marcorobert.com. You can look me up. I have a website where I showcase some of the pictures with celebrities that I've taken over the years because I traveled and I shared the stage with celebrities. It's meetmarcorobert.com. But the truth is this: if anybody wants to know more about me, all they have to do is Google Marco Robert or Marco Robert Consultant, and everything is going to show up. I mean, I've recorded I don't know, probably well over 100 podcasts like this. I've written a lot of articles. I have a video channel on YouTube. People can go to my video channel. It's basically youtube.com/Marco Robert. But if you just Google my name, everything shows up. Everything shows up.
Yeah, thanks to Google.
Thanks to Google. Absolutely.
Perfect. Marco, I want to thank you very much also on behalf of my audience. I love spending time with you. You have a lot of wisdom and experience to share with the audience. I hope they get inspired as well and become those outlier entrepreneurs you're looking for. So thanks again, Marco. Enjoy all the time with your son and your partner, of course. Make the best out of it, and let's keep in touch. I hope you liked this episode. Make sure to check out the other episodes, because each one is filled with interesting and inspiring stories and energy. Are you following your passion as well and make a good living out of it? Contact me and you could be my next guest. Would you like to follow your passion but are not there yet? Check out my website millionairelifestrategy.com and book an appointment to discover what I could do for you. Don't forget to share the podcast with your friends so that they get inspired as well.